So Mehtaji very eloquently told the history of the maritime history and the prowess of India in the past. But sir, you know very well the prowess. We remember Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola. And if you go to the world, if you go to anywhere in the east of India, you can see the maritime prowess of India more than in India, sir. The world's largest temple is not in India, it's in Cambodia. If you go to Bali, Indonesia, Jakarta, that's where you see the Indian culture. But sir, Mehtabji also explained how our culture, how our importance on maritime trade changed, that it impacted our very culture. If you go abroad, you're no longer part of this culture, was what Gandhiji was told. But I'm very glad, sir, that the government has taken this up, and at this very crucial juncture, where on one side we are trying to become a prowess, show our prowess in the space by launching satellites, but in the maritime, I think again we need to retain the old glory, sir. And I think the government has done certain things, and I should congratulate them. There were times, sir, of course yesterday was the maternity bill, there's nothing to do with the maternity bill. The pre-birthing detention time, the pre-birthing detention time in India used to be weeks and months, a few decades ago. This government brought it down from about 2 days to about less than 1 day, sir. Definitely, it's worth congratulating the government on this. But, sir, the averages don't tell the whole story, sir. Average is good metric, but there are still cases where ships are lying outside for 1, 2, and 3 weeks, sir. So, this law is even more important because those cases, in fact, before coming, I was trying to Google how many of these ships are lying in the outer harbor because of these legal issues. I could not get any data. Hopefully, the minister can give us some data today about how many ships are being held up outside in the outer harbor. So I feel that it will reduce the pre-birthing time. It's one more step in increasing our maritime trade, sir. So while it was a global strength in the past, the Mumbai and Chennai are dismally low. The Shanghai port has more than 700 million tons, and the Rotterdam port has more than 400 million. So is Singapore and Dubai port. But Chennai is just 25 and Bombay is just 65 million. So I think all these bills, in conjunction with others, will go a long way in improving our maritime trade, sir. So the Admiralty Bill has been in the making for the last 30 years. It's one of the long-time pending demands of the shipping industry and the maritime legal fraternity. The Praveen Singh Committee report in 1986, Supreme Court judgment of M.V. Elizabeth and others versus Harwan Investment and Trading in 1992. Subsequent to the 151 report of the Law Commission also recommended the need for such legislation. It's been a long time since 1992. We should have done this before. So definitely we need to congratulate the government on getting this bill. Historically speaking, the Admiralty codes date back to 1360s and in the reign of Edward XIII. Although originally dealt with matters of primarily the English fleet, because at the time all the fleet were controlled by the English crown, sir. The courts progressively acquired some civil jurisdictions. In case of India, 95% of the mercantile trade volume is catered by maritime transportation. However, the present statutes regarding admiralty jurisdictions are the British era jurisdictions. The laws are not aligned with the latest practices of the maritime sector, sir. The bill repeals the old absolute British statutes, but also consolidates existing laws relating to admiralty jurisdiction of the court, admiralty proceedings on maritime claim, arrest of vehicles and related issues. As of today, the admiralty jurisdiction is reduced to 3 high courts, Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, and the bill rightfully increases the number of courts which can examine this. And just before Honorable Member Kalyan Banerjee has explained, sir, by increasing the number of high courts, does it reduce the time? Now, that's a question, sir, that we need to examine, because the courts are already overloaded, and some of the courts, these are alien issues, sir. Bombay High Court, historically, the judges, the lawyers, they have dealt with the matter. But historically, these new courts, are they equipped in terms of knowledge, experience, and exposure to deal with. So there has to be probably a primer or some information or some courses for the lawyers as well as the judges to deal in this matter, sir. But most importantly, sir, I was just going through the bill, and it brings us to an old issue. In Section 2, it says, the High Court in relation to the Admiralty proceedings means any High Court of Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, High Court of Karnataka, High Court of Gujarat, Orissa, Kerala, and the High Court Judicature of Hyderabad, Telangana, and the state of Andhra Pradesh, sir. Everything is fine, sir. There's one anomaly. Hyderabad, Telangana is the only this thing which is landlocked. We don't have a port. We don't have. Why should our courts be bothered with this, sir? And that brings us to another older issue, which is very, very important issue, sir. We are landlocked. We have no sea. That is the separate High Court. Now, non-separation of the High Courts, Court of Hyderabad has to deal with this issue. So we do require a separate High Court, sir, not just in our interest. In the interest of my friends from Andhra Pradesh, we require a separate High Court. In the interest of maritime trade, boosting of India, we require a separate High Court, and the Andhras, the common people of Andhra, require a separate High Court, sir. So very, very important for this, sir. Just for the sake of benefiting a few individuals, we cannot club the two High Courts and ask us to deal with maritime cases. Sir, the coast of Andhra is rich in trade as well. They are developing the Visakhapatnam post, the Kakinada post. I know that. Some of my friends tell me how fast it's developing. There's a potential to gain 600 crores additional revenue to Andhra, sir. Brings us to another issue, sir. We are also passing the GST. And in the GST, the states are saying up to 12 nautical miles of the revenue of the trade from the coast, that should go to the respective state. I fully support, sir. The Andhra government should get, so also the Tamil Nadu and all the coastal governments should get that. And it goes much in the favor of Andhra government if they even push for a separate court in Andhra for this. And the jurisdiction is also good to have divided multiple high courts dealing with this. But the boundaries, sir, boundaries again, that brings us a problem. So in the being an engineer, sir, there can be a boundary dispute. It's very easy to draw a line on the land. How do you draw a line in the sea? It's got to be GPS coordinates. Otherwise, they file a case in Andhra High Court, I file a case in Tamil Nadu High Court, because it's somewhere between Nellore and Ennore. So these are some of the things, sir. We need to have a GPS coordinates, because the ships are almost half kilometer, 500 meters wide. It can be half year, or just to delay the case, if somebody files in this court, I'll file in that court. So there are issues like this, sir. There's one more issue, sir. It says exemption for warships and non-commercial activities as may be notified by the central government or cities operated by central and state governments. Now I know that for a fact central and state governments don't have non-commercial vessels, sir. They have very, very few. So they generally depend on lease for survey purposes, for exploration purposes and all that. These can be construed as non-commercial activities, but the very act of the government leasing a ship is a commercial operation, sir. So therefore, it is little ambiguous on that area, sir. The law is little ambiguous on that area. The bill provides clarity with respect to the jurisdiction and settlement of claim. It's only the boundaries that has to be more precisely defined. Otherwise, it will another cause for delaying, sir. The overall legislation, along with the government impetus for the maritime infrastructure, will provide an impetus for enhancing the maritime law, sir. Lastly, sir. I would really appreciate if the ministry gives how much benefit this bill gives. Definitely it gives a benefit to everybody in the parliament, so I want a metric. How many of those cases are ships are lying in the outer harbour, and how much of the pre-berthing detention time it reduces, how many legal cases it reduces, this is one of the things, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you once again. We support the bill on part of the arrest party. Thank you.